As usual, right after this call, I'll make sure that the prompts, which happen to be one of the most requested things, are shared with you. I'll also share the XML that Murli generates so that once you go back after this call, log in and try doing it yourself, you can actually compare the XML that Murli has generated today to what you end up generating. Uh, Aside from that, recording will be shared as well, so you can always refer to that. A general sort of Also a general update is that I'm ramping up YouTube as well. So I've started creating a features walkthrough playlist on our YouTube. You can go check that out. Aside from that, I'll also be like uploading these session recordings. So that becomes sort of eventually that'll become one place for sort of like a repository for all these videos. Uh, During this call, while Murli shares his screen, does his thing, you can use the chat box to actually drop in any questions you might have. We'll pick that up if in case it's immediately related to what Murli is explaining. If not, we'll sort of reserve 5 to 10 minutes during the end of this call to make sure all of these are answered, and we'll also have sort of like an AMA towards the end of this call. Perfect. Murli, you can now share a screen and get started.
Yeah. So let me share my screen. I hope my screen is visible now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just create a survey. We have picked like 4 questions for this one to cover in like within 30 minutes or something like that. So we'll go one by one. And before I go ahead and generate this, let me select the specialization needed for this JS. Usually while programming JS, we will also implement validation so that in case of JS didn't work, then we can control the user inputs using validation. So I'm selecting answer validation and styling and scripting. So this looks good to me. So for each of those, like I have prepared a prompt. So I'll just use it and I will explain that also. For the Q1 question, like is this a normal number question? In this one, we just need to limit the number of characters to 3. And this in this Q2 question, like we need to show a number question. In that one, the second column, we need to show the percentage based on whatever they have entered in the first column. And this percentage should be calculated based on the number they have entered in the Q1 and also the number they have entered in the Q2 first column. And the percentage will be shown here. Along with that, we need to show the sum here as well. For this question, like we need to add validation as well to make sure the numbers that they have entered in the first column is equal to the number that they have entered in the Q1 question. And then after that, in Q3, like we are having a hybrid question. In this one, like the respondent can select whatever the subscriptions they have, like for whatever the subscriptions they have, they select it, then we will allow them to enter response here. And here we would need to add a validation to make sure, like in case if they are selecting this option, then this number should be answered for the particular row. And if they have answered here, this checkbox should be selected. That validation we will add. Along with that, this will be disabled by default, the second column. And for whichever the row they were selecting the checkbox, then we will enable this particular number box for the particular row where the checkbox is checked. And then in Q4, like along with the total sum, we would need to show the remaining as well in the last row. So these are the things we'll be implementing in this one. And I will start with the first one, that is Q1. So before I did that, I have selected this validation and custom styling and scripting. These are the 2 things that I would need to, for this session. So for the first question, this is the prompt I'm gonna give. This is just a number question. So for this one, I don't need to add row class names or car class names. So I'm just asking it to add question class names and add JS to make this happen. And I'm asking it like, this is what you would need to do. And then I'll just click on this generate, let it generate. So in case if this question has rows and columns and all, I would have asked it to add row class names and question class names as well. So now it added this JS. So let me just sync this to Decipher and then take a link and test it. If it doesn't work, then I will use the inspect element to copy the HTML from that and use edit with AI to edit this one. So let me take the test link. So now this is the test link. So now if I enter more than 3 characters, it should not allow. Actually, it's doing it in the first try itself. So I will go to this JavaScript survey, and then I will try to create the second question. Second question is a little bit complex. We might need to use edit with AI to add a validation, and also we have a text in the left top side as well. So we would need to again use edit with AI to add this content type as well. So let me just give the prompt. So here I'm giving a prompt like create Q2 and add question class names, row class names, and call class names, and add JS to implement the setup for showing the percentage based on Q1 answers, and make the column 2 read only for users, and it should be populated based on the response in the first column. This is what the prompt I'm providing. So based on this, it should implement this logic of showing this percentage in this column. And it should also add this total sum. I'm explicitly not giving the prompt to add the total sum because I would expect it to do it by itself. So let me generate it. Whenever you are using JS, like add, like don't forget to add this prompt, like add question class names, row class names, and call class names. So let me delete this one. I just need Q2. I will test Q2 and then I will test Q3. Actually, like when we are having this JS setups and all, what I usually do is that instead of just relying on the JS to update the values in this one, I will also program an execute tag to punch the second column that is calculated based on the first column. That is what is done here in this last execute. Let me sync this to Decipher and check it in the link whether it is working or not. And also here, I don't want this verify. So I'll just remove this. And here in the validate, it added the validation for calculating the total hours they have entered. And if it is greater than the value that they have entered in Q1, then we are showing error. Uh, I think this should be equal to instead of greater than. So I'll just add it. And in this error as well, total hours must, okay. One second. I think the total hours is not equal to condition is checked here. Here it's showing an error like total hours must sum to this pipe, but this pipe is wrong. So I'll just use this piping. This should work. And here we are, yeah, it should be the actual condition we need to have. And also you can see it's using this float question because for number question, we cannot show the percentage here. So let me sync this. So it's synced. Let me take a test link. So the first question is working fine. I'm not able to enter more than 3 characters. So the second question, I think it's adding the total at the right. It should not add a total at the right. So let me share my complete screen now. So you would know like how I'm copying the inspect element and all. Yeah, I think you're able to see my complete screen now. So here in this question, you can see the total is added here, but I don't want it like this. Let me just enter some values. Okay. So what I'm gonna ask now is that I wanted to add the total in the last row instead of in the each total for each column instead of adding it for each row. So wait. Yeah, I'll go here and I will use this inspect element. And also one more thing we have noticed, while you are inspecting the element, instead of copying just this div, if you copy the whole HTML, it would give more accuracy when you are working with JS. So I'll click on this question. I will select this question actually. Select here and then shift plus click. Okay. Now I will use Control K and I will ask it like second. The current JS setup is not working. Below is the HTML for this. So I'm gonna copy this again. Copy element, and here I'm gonna paste it. And then I will ask it to add JS. So I will use edit read QNR. So it might get some information from the QNR as well for this. So in the left hand side, we have this content type, so that's fine.
Also, while this happens, I just wanted to address one thing that most of you would have already noticed in the current generation. So what I've noticed is that the timer in the generation is not actively reflecting the accurate ETA for the generation. We've noticed this, something that we're already working on. We were experimenting with models that would make the generation more efficient this week. So hence some of these new issues have sort of come up. So those are actively being solved. I expect some progress by this week, but ideally by the end of next week, this should see a lot of progress. Perfect. Murli, you can continue.
Yeah. So here as well, it used this pipe colon Q1. So instead of that, I used this. So it added the total at the end. So let me just review it whether it is working correctly. So in the, I don't want this comment as well, as this is not present in the QNR. I will sync it again. Yeah. So now I will just go back to the previous question. In this question, we have entered 123. So let me make it 200 or something. So here, let me provide. Okay. Okay. So it's having the total value here instead of the percentage. I think. One sec. Yeah, no, no. Thank you. Yeah, now it's working fine. So let me check if I give any value that is not equal to the number that I have entered in the previous question, it should throw an error. Let me just try it. So it's showing the error like total hours must sum to 200. So in case if I'm entering any value that is greater than what they have entered in the Q1, that it should also throw an error in this question. So let me, yeah, now we can see hours of each content type cannot exceed the total TV hours. So here I will just give 50. Now the total percentage is 100. I should be able to move forward. Yeah, I'm able to move forward in this question. So one another prompt I want to tell in this one, in case if you like I will show you. In case if this content type is not added in the left top of this table, then you can use this prompt. I will show you the prompt. You can select the question and you can use this prompt. Add content type to the left top empty box of the table. So it knows like if we use this, then in this empty box, it will add this one. Okay. So now this question is done. I will proceed with the next question. So while implementing JS that has this checkbox and number question and all, it should be able to program this question in a hybrid question manner without you explicitly saying like these are the rows in that question and these are the columns in this question and all. So for this one, I'm gonna use this prompt, create Q3 question as a hybrid question and add JS to make the boxes read only, and gray if the corresponding row checkbox is not checked, and add question class name and row class names and call class names, and use it in the JS for implementing the setup. So like they should have all of the information that is needed for this question. As I have previously said, if you are having a number question that is combined with checkbox and all, it already knows how to create it. So you don't need to specifically mention like these are the rows and columns that needs to be present in this question, and uh, in this checkbox question or this number question. So you can just mention like create this as a hybrid question. So I'll just click on this generate. And in all of the JS, you might have seen like I'm specifically mentioning it to use question class names, row class names and all. Because that is the best practice I have seen. And also it is easy for the AI to like create the selectors for those rows and columns if we have the row class names and call class names.
Okay, Murli, one question that we've received from Ajay. He asks, these basic JS commands take care of device compatibility, or do we need to provide some more specific prompts to make these setups device compatible? Because in questions like numeric grid or simple grid, formatting of entire question gets changed when we open survey over mobile device.
Yeah, actually, the JS that we have implemented in Metaforms, it's like considering the look and feel that's present in the desktop actually. So that's why you can see like survey display equal to desktop is added in all of those questions. Here also you can see like survey display desktop is added. So all of the JS that it programs will be considering it is shown on the desktop only, not actually on the mobile device. And as we are using this survey display to desktop, then both of the mobile and desktop will have the same kind of view.
Okay, but suppose if we need to make it a mobile compatible, then what should we do in that case? Like if I have multiple columns, in this case we only have two columns, but suppose I have 10 columns
Mm.
in the question, then obviously it won't appear as a grid on the smaller devices.
Like if we are using the survey display equal to desktop, then it will appear as a grid. But actually, yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so it gets converted into the list format on the device or tablet dynamically.
Yeah, I get your question. Like in case programming for a mobile device, then I think it would not give the correct exact result that you want. Uh, when we trained this model, like what we have done is that we have kept desktop view in our mind, and also all of the JavaScript that is outputting is for the desktop. And for each grid question, it would add the survey display equal to desktop and list display equal to 0, just to prevent it from changing the layout from grid to a list kind of question.
Got it. Also, I wanted to understand like how frequent is this behavior? Like, do you feel the need to have it on mobile pretty frequently? If that's the case, I mean, this is something I can take up, have a look at it, attach sort of like a priority to it.
Yes, but because for most of the client, mobile is the first priority. Like I guess as per survey, 70% respondents are almost mobile respondent.
I see.
So for them, the mobile compatibility is the topmost priority. And for any custom setup, we want to make sure it is working on all the devices, including tablet, desktop, laptop, mobile, all
I
those
see.
devices.
I see. So far, I think we've only trained the program for desktop output. But like I hear you, what I'll do is I'll go back to my team. I'll see how sort of like resource intensive implementing this will be, and I'll personally come back to you with a timeline on how soon we can see this implemented.
Okay, sure. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much for pointing this out, though. Very helpful. Perfect. Murli, let's continue.
1 second. Yeah, there is an indentation error in this validation, it seems. So I'll just correct this.
Also, one thing that Murli, I noticed during one of our user calls this week is that sometimes users find it a little tricky to sort of select syntax when coding. If you could walk them through how you select like a chunk of syntax at once whenever you feel like during this call, that will be awesome.
Sure, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, actually, wait. So here what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use this Alt selection and Shift. In Windows, it will be Alt and Shift, and I can select multiple lines here. I will remove this indentation here. And then after this, there is this one that is right of primary question cannot be a secondary of another primary. Okay. Let me just say this. And also in this question, like for this one, it should need to use C2 instead of C1. So I'm just verifying whether the rows are inserted. Sorry, here it's C1, and in this question it should be C2. Yeah. Okay. Subscribers, logs. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now, I'll just remove this validation and JS, and I will ask it to add the JS now. Second. Okay. Do you subscribe? And hours watched per week. It created like a 3 question, like service display, and then another 2 questions. So what I'm gonna do, like I'll just remove all of this. So for selecting the particular code here, what I used to do is that I will click here and then go to the place where I want to enter the selection, and I will press the shift and click on the mouse. So it will just select the things from the start to the place that I wanted. So here I will ask it to create the same question again. And now, like, I'm gonna give an explicit instruction of what are the rows and columns that needs to be present, and also like how, um, which are the question types that needs to be here. Q3 create two questions. One is race radio, other is number, and question, and C1 in question, and C2 in the number question. Okay, so yeah, let me just generate it. So, and also like I don't want this defines list, so I'll just remove this. And to go to the previous prompt, I can press the up arrow. So I'm just going to the previous prompt and I'm clicking on this generate. It's creating a checkbox question first, and then it's adding the JS. After that, it should add the number question as we have asked it to do. Yeah, it added the JS as well. It created Q4 as well, but I don't need this. So I'll just this one. Yeah. Now I will sync this to Decipher and then check it in the link. I don't need this SS. And here as well, I don't need this SS. So in this question, you should have the same number of rows. So it added the total row. So I'm gonna remove this one. And I think, yeah, that should be fine. And also like while programming JS, it's good to place the style in the first question only when we are having the hybrid question. Sometimes like if we are having the style in the second question, it might not work. Yeah, it got synced. Let me test it in the link. So now in this question, I'm entering some value 200. Then proceeding to this. So now this one doesn't seem to actually work. So let me inspect this element and copy this whole HTML from the page here. To select this two question, I will click here, and after that go ahead and shift click here and then use Control K, and here I'm gonna like use this prompt. Yeah. As I have pasted the whole HTML, it may take some time for AI to edit this. So it updated the whole JS for this. So I'll just click on this accept. Okay, I'll just sync. Okay. Let me refresh this page. I'll just mention again the particular thing that it's not doing. It updated this, but I think it's not coming up correctly. And also let me see, like if it is using the second class name, that is Q3 hours. So it's using the second class name. So I'll just modify to this. That is the only place it's used second class name. Okay. Yeah, actually what happens is that like when you're using a hybrid question and then if you're asking it to add row class names and col class names, what happens is this in the decipher, like instead of for the second column, it's using this instead of using this question class names, it uses this one like Q3 streaming. That's why like here it used the second question's class name. So I just modified this to the first question class name. Now this seems to work. Now you can see this total is added correctly. Yeah, this looks fine for me. So let me proceed to the next one. Yeah. Now I need to create this Q4. In this Q4, like I would need to show the total and as well as the like 1000 minus whatever they have entered in this question. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna provide this prompt like create Q4 and add question class names, row class names, and col class names. Implement the JS to show the total and the remaining as in the QNR. So like I'm not mentioning like you need to show it in the rows or columns, but if you're adding that more context to it, it will be able to do it more accurately. But I'm just adding it like show the total as it is in the QNR. So you should identify where it should show the total and the remaining from the questionnaire. So let me generate it.
Perfect.
So created this question. Let me sync this to the December. And also, yeah, this is fine. Okay, let me sync it. So now I will go back. I will actually take a test link now. Yeah. And then it's like, you maybe find it. Okay. So now we're like 22. Yeah. Now you can see like it's okay. It's not actually showing the remaining and total correctly. So let me again do the same step that I have done before. And here now, like I would specify like the total and remaining is not calculated in this page. So to select that question, I'll just then leaves Control K.
Also, something I've personally learned over this week after the loads of client calls we had is that all like the workflow that we sort of recommend is that you generate questions, the output you go ahead and take a look at it, review it once, try syncing to Decipher, and the ideal workflow or the expected behavior is that the product will then tell you, hey, this is where the syntax has errors, and this is exactly where you should either manually or through AI edit it to test what's come, like what has appeared, and then you create, then you sync again, and then ideally the syntax should not then have errors if you were successful in going through or just making sure that they are removed from there. And once you sync to Decipher, then there should, once there are no errors, then you'd be able to create a test link. You go to the test link, you see if the output is actually what you wanted. In this particular case, the output was there. There was no errors in the syntax as such. But Murli went back and saw that the output is not behaving how he would like. And then there were further checks on how to do that. Something that I've learned over this week is that for, I think, some of you, the process involves taking the syntax and then testing it separately, going back maybe in Decipher or somewhere else. And that, I think, still is taking some time. So what I would recommend is following the workflow that Moodle ideally prefers. But in saying that, I would also love insights into if there's any other workflow that you prefer, if there's other ways in which you would like to code and then test outside of Metaforms, that I would love to hear about. You can either mail me separately so that I have more insights. Once you give those to me, then I'll make sure that that workflow is also somehow included in Metaforms, and you don't have to go outside because once you create and generate in Metaforms and then you spend time testing it separately, I think that stretches the time for the project delivery in total somehow. So yeah, if in case there's workflow that you prefer differently from this, please come to me. I'd make sure that I ask the right questions and I have the right insights to go back and make the platform better for you. Perfect.
Let me accept it. You sync to Decipher.
Yep, should ideally not have errors again. Perfect. But I think the output now will be different. Let's see what it shows.
Yeah, now it's showing the total correctly and also the remaining correctly. So now if I like not entering the total that is equal to like $1,000, and it should throw me an error. So in this column, we enter maybe 600. This column is correct and this column is not correct. Let's see. Actually, it's proceeding. Let me just review the JS validation for this.
Yeah. But you see the point with demonstrating Mully's workflow is he creates this, then he syncs to Decipher, then Metaforms points to exactly the errors. Then he goes ahead, creates a test link. And by the way, the test link is not separate. It is created in sync with Decipher also. So once the output is not behaving how you would want it, so for example, in this case, it should not have proceeded and thrown an error. It did not, so now it works. Perfect. So this is the workflow. You can keep doing this, keep coming to the output itself and keep checking and coming back. This ends up saving more time than having to like just generate the workflow and test it out separately, which I've seen with a few users. My goal with Metaforms is not just to reduce your like the generation time, but reduce the entire project delivery time overall. So perfect. Maybe if you go back and try this workflow, might reduce your time.
And also, like, if you have any suggestion on which of the like JS that you want to see us to program, it will also be helpful for us to create these questionnaires.
Yeah. Another thing that we've noticed this week is while we have trained the model for a wide variety of JS scenarios and all of the other possibilities, sometimes, or for a few JS scenarios that we've never seen before, we still need to train the AI. So if in case there's a very complex questionnaire, you can individually come to us and we'll make sure that the model is trained on it. And every time that you do it, it is able to give you a great, favorable, and valuable output. Perfect. How far in are we, Murli, so far?
Actually, we just wanted to show like 4 questions. One question with just one numeric, and the other question where we have calculation based on previous question, and the other question like where we are disabling, enabling the number question, and the other one we just wanted to show like how you can show the remaining and the total using JS. So these are the 4 things that I had in mind, considering the time that we have like 45 minutes in this one. Yeah, but
Got it.
yeah.
Got it. Perfect. And do you think there are other scenarios within JS that still remain and that we should cover? I mean, this is a question open to all users as well, but like I'm still addressing Murli only.
Yeah, actually, there will be a lot of scenarios in JS, but I want user inputs as well because they are the ones using the tool. So it would be great if they provide us few scenarios that they want us to cover. Then it will be helpful for them as well.
Awesome. So like number questions was something that we received over the last week. If in case there are specific scenarios that you would want us to cover, I'll make sure that next week when we come, there we address those scenarios that you would like specifically request out of us. So yeah, so feel free to like come back to us or maybe just suggest some right now if you want. Perfect. So these were all the scenarios that we had to cover today. While I conclude the call, before that, I would love to like make the stage open. Okay, perfect. We already received a question. I will address that. And before that, if in case you have any other questions, you can feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. I'll quickly address Ajay's question. Murli, he says, also wanted to add one more thing about device compatibility. We also need to take care of OS compatibility to make sure steps are working fine on Android and iOS. Things which run smoothly on Android sometimes does not work on iOS as expected. Perfect. So like I said, with desktop, once we're working on mobile, aside from that, I'll make sure this is also taken into account for. As soon as I have updates and if in case I have progress also, I'll make sure that we reach out to you personally and that it is communicated. Perfect. Murli, you have to add anything?
Yeah, actually, like whatever the JS that we have trained the AI on, we have also checked in the mobile whether it is working fine or not. Like it works like all the time. Like whatever we have tested, it works. But in case if you feel like if some JS is not working in mobile device, you can always let us know. Then, yeah.
Perfect. I hope that answered your question, Ajay. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Awesome. I'm happy. Perfect. If in case any one of you has any questions, I'll wait for a bit. Perfect. So I'll quickly conclude this call. I have a few updates to give. Meanwhile, you can drop a few W's in the chat if you found this session useful, and let us know that you enjoyed it, found it useful, that it was helpful to you. I would love to send resources after the call, including the prompts and everything. This really helps me know that this was helpful to you, and I keep making it better. Thank you so much, Praful. Really appreciate it. It really makes my day. Thank you, Ajay. Thank you, Mladen. Awesome. Now to conclude the call, like I said, we did not have 8 a.m. session this time. Next time, I'll see how best to accommodate both the calls. I still want to make sure that every user across time zones is accommodated for. That I'll make sure happens. So next week, there will be some changes, but I can still assure you that there will be like 2 calls, or I'll still accommodate every user across time zones. So that's one. We are working on a lot of updates this week on the product itself. So we ended up switching a few AI models to make sure that the product sort of gives more accurate, more precise first drafts, and in general performs well. But what that ended up doing was it sort of uh, messed with a few things here and there with the product. Because of that, while we're still perfecting it, if you remember, I had announced a survey programming competition maybe mid last week. That will still happen. Whoever has applied already from this lot, I'll make sure that either by today or tomorrow you have more idea or clarity on the dates of that tournament or the competition, so that you'll get to know. Just to reiterate, we are hosting a survey programming competition, should happen over the weekend. Dates still to confirm. The winner gets an iPhone like the last time. And the idea with it is we give you a questionnaire. Whoever programs it in the least possible time wins the prize. So, but before we make it happen, I'll make sure that the product is perfect and holds sort of holds in terms of the quality that I want out of the competition. Perfect. Next, this week